Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of The Clueless Capitalist, where we help you become less clueless about angel investing. My name is Razi.
And my name is Osman, and together we're the Clueless Capitalists.
So, for this episode, we have the privilege of having the co founder and CEO of MedEasy. MedEasy is an online pharmacy and an online tele-consultation service from Bangladesh. So, hello, Arefin.
Hi, Razi and Osman. It's nice to talk to you here.
So thank you for joining us for this episode. And as always, I've always given a short introduction of the startup. It's best to hear from the founder and the CEO on what does MedEasy do.
Sure, thank you. So MedEasy is an online pharmacy and doctor consultation app based in Bangladesh. And our vision is to make the lives of 30 million chronic patients easier. Who are in Bangladesh. So by chronic patients, we mean the people who are suffering from lifelong diseases like diabetes, hypertension, and cardiac problems. Our focus is to make their lives using technology and how they access healthcare. Hi, this is Arefin, co-founder and CEO of MedEasy. MedEasy is an online pharmacy and doctor consultation app based in Bangladesh. In 18 months since our launch, we have delivered 25,000 plus medicine orders to 6,000 paying customers. And we just crossed $1 million in annualized sales last month. There are 30 million chronic patients in Bangladesh who are suffering from lifelong diseases like diabetes, hypertension, and cardiac problems. And these patients struggle to refill their prescription every month because some medicine are always out of stock in the nearby pharmacy. So they have to go from one pharmacy to another to refill their whole prescription in the horrible traffic jam of Bangladesh. Also, there is an inconsistency in the pricing of the same medicine, sometimes based on the location. And after all this trouble, the medicine you get as a customer can turn out to be fake or counterfeit. And I faced all of these problems myself because my father was a chronic patient and I used to buy medicine for him. So that's why I started this company in the first place. MedEasy is a mobile app that makes ordering medicine very easy for these people. Our users have to simply upload their prescription and they get authentic medicine delivered to their doorstep within 24 hours at even more affordable price than the retailers. Our customers are loving MedEasy, which is proven by the fact that we have a month-one retention rate of 84% among the chronic patients with an average order value of $33. And the customer acquisition cost is fully paid back in less than 3 months. Because of these strong unit economics, we are growing consistently every month. In the last year, we have grown more than 6 times up in terms of revenue. And we are just barely scratching the surface. We are serving 6,000 customers, but there are 30 million chronic patients in Bangladesh. That represents a market opportunity of $12 billion. And this market is also growing at a 15% CAGR. So there are other online pharmacies, but the key differentiating factor with us is our proprietary technologies like our intelligent inventory ordering system that allow us to operate with much less inventory than them. Also our automated customer support system and our pharmacist backend platform and also our logistics and delivery platform and how all these are integrated and customized just for this pharmaceutical delivery. Also our decentralized distribution model makes us faster in terms of delivery by design. And we are also building a marketplace for hospitals and doctors where patients will be able to discover their relevant healthcare providers, book their services and pay online and leave reviews for other patients. This will create a strong network effect that will create actually a strong moat for us. Right now, we are with online pharmacy and doctor consultation, we are operating in the primary healthcare market. But eventually, we want to go deeper. For example, we want to introduce lab tests and also hospital services by 2025. And after that, eventually, we want to become a full stack, complete chronic care platform, eventually going into surgeries and even embedded finance as well. So financing all the healthcare needs for the procedures and surgery. Team consists of myself. I'm Arefin. I'm the CEO. I come from a data science and machine learning background. My co-founder and CTO Nazmul has 9 years of software engineering experience for multiple companies. And my another co-founder Moqtadir is a medical doctor with 5 years experience in the healthcare industry of Bangladesh. Right now, we are raising our $750,000 seed round to achieve $18 million in annualized GMV by December 2023. I think that's it. Thank you.
Okay, but before we jump into the questions, one thing I really liked about when we met, Arefin, was your founder story, your background, why you chose to do this as well, and even the things that you mentioned around how you ran Facebook ads and you had the number calling you. All of those things were really things to talk about. I'd love you to be able to talk us through that and give us some more insight into your background.
Yeah, thank you, Osman. I graduated from a computer science department from one of the leading universities in Bangladesh called RUET in actually late 2017. So, and after that, I was very excited about the new discoveries that were happening in the field of artificial intelligence and machine learning and natural language processing. So I started as working as a researcher in that field. So and eventually I joined as a machine learning engineer in one of the startup in Bangladesh called Socian, who were working on speech recognition and natural language processing system. So there I worked for almost 3 years, and we were working on exciting projects. Like we built the first automatic speech recognition system available in Bangla for Bangla language. So and also some other stuff. But at the same time, and I was actually preparing for my PhD in machine learning to go to USA for that. But at the same time, my father was a chronic patient. He was struggling with diabetes and hypertension and cardiac and renal problems. And I used to take care of him. So I used to take him to the doctors, buy medicine for him every month, and doing the lab tests and everything. So that's when I pitched this idea to one of my colleagues in that company, just as a side project. Why do we have to go to the doctors every time, to do a follow-up physically? They can simply, after doing the lab test, they can simply get digitally the lab test reports and modify the prescription to the patient and send it to the patient. And if needed, they can do a video consultation just like we are doing right now. But it was pre-COVID, so it was not normal. The telemedicine was not the trend. So we started building a platform for the hospitals and the doctors. So basically a B2B Saas platform, and we built the initial MVP. And it took us some time because we were doing this full-time job, and then again 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours every night working on this. And we named that platform as, in Bangla, it's called Daktar Bondhu, which means doctor and friend. So basically doctor as a friend. So we wanted to represent the doctors as a friend to the patient, that you have every time, you can chat with him, you can do a call with him, you can share your report with him through this single platform. That was the goal. But then eventually we actually won one of the startup idea competition arranged by one of the largest telcos in Bangladesh called Robi Asia Limited, which the competition was called Our Venture. We became one of the winners of them. But then COVID hit. Somehow our funding got stopped and we didn't actually start working on the project full time, and we didn't launch that actually product to the hospitals. So the doctors we talked to, they were asking for the products, but then when COVID hit, Chamber was shut down, their offices were shut down, and they all went into hibernation, and it was very difficult to sell a product like this to the doctors. But then telemedicine became mainstream during COVID. So we did a little pivot and became a B2C telemedicine provider. So instead of charging the doctors, we became a marketplace. So, and we still are a marketplace for telemedicine. Doctors could actually sign up a supply side, and we would verify the doctors and onboard them. And the patients could simply download our mobile app and take an appointment with the doctor and do consultation and get digital prescription. So that's what we launched eventually in October 2020. We officially launched it. The beta testing started a little bit earlier. So October 2020, officially, I quit my job, my co-founder quit his job, and we officially started, four of us actually started with full time. But at the same time, something interesting was happening. So every month, we would spend a little bit of money on marketing. We would get some downloads and some new consultations happening every month. But the problem was, though it was growing, it was not growing fast enough because every month we had to acquire new customers. But because the repeat customer rate was very low. So the retention rate was like around 10%, which means 1 in every 10 consultations are happening actually as a repeat customers. So people were coming back 1 in every 10 customers, but 9 of them were not coming back. So that was the problem. And another problem was when you don't use an app for a long time, you don't see the utility in keeping that in your phone. So they were actually uninstalling the app, some of them after like 2 months. So to me, that didn't make any sense to work on something that was not used frequently. So my thinking at that time was, so if we really want to build a valuable business like say Facebook or Uber or this kind of, we want to scale it to that level, at least to the 30 million patients in Bangladesh, we cannot have a thing that people use every 3 months. Then we started getting a little bit request. In December 2020, we started getting requests from some of our customers who were getting digital prescription, but they could not find the needed medicine the doctor prescribed in their nearby pharmacy. And they requested us, the doctors on your platform wrote this prescription, so can you please arrange this medicine for me? So we were like, okay, no, we are a technology company, so we are not in this operations business, and we will only provide the platform, and we are a marketplace. We cannot do that, but okay. So just to keep you, so that you were happy with our service and keep coming back, we will. So I used to buy this from a pharmacy and send it through a courier service, and sometimes if it's nearby, I would even go to the patient's home and deliver it myself. But the thing was, we were seeing after getting these 10 deliveries, people were ordering repeatedly for this medicine. So I was a little bit shocked that is medicine something that people need even more frequently than doctor consulting. So maybe this can be a nice feature for our app so that people don't delete our app basically, and we can grow again. So I launched actually to experiment in January 2021. So just to test the demand, that just a little to Facebook ad, not the, we didn't have any like in the mobile app. The mobile app was just for doctor consultation. There was no medicine database, there was no nothing to upload the prescription, so no feature was there. And I didn't even tell my team in detail. I launched this small experiment, just giving out my phone number that if you did medicine within this 1 hour, you can call this number. And a small another $5 ad called, it will take like 48 hours, but you will get all this medicine in one place, and you will get a certain amount of discount. The interesting fact was, after that 7-day experiment, within 7 days, I myself delivered, I think we got 30 plus orders, but I was alone, so I could not deliver to all over the Dhaka city, but I could only deliver like 15 or 16 orders, and I had to call other people that this is too far and I cannot deliver, sorry. After that, I talked to the patients and they were very hyped about it. After seeing so much enthusiasm, I asked, why did you order from here? So people who were having one of these diseases like diabetes, hypertension, and this kind of stuff, they were saying that we need a lot of medicine every month, which is almost for some people 20%, 30% of their monthly salary. For some people, it's like the average is 15% to 20%. So for them, if we can get it cheaper than the retailers, and we could not find all this medicine in our nearby pharmacy. So if you can fulfill all of this within 24 hours for me, so this is a great convenience to me as a patient. So then it clicked, and I still waited another 15 to 30 days to see if their money is where their mouth is. So just to see that they place on repeat order. So after I see like 40% retention among these patients, then I was like, okay, let's now integrate this into app and create a better experience. And now, now we have a dedicated team for all these customer support and pharmacists and delivery men. But at that time, I was that person all in one. And till date, we have delivered more than 25,000 orders now.
See, that's an amazing story for me, because it's kind of textbook in what you learn when you go to classes on entrepreneurship about how to do a minimum viable product, how to pivot. We always talk about the lean startup, about pivoting and changing from one idea to another. And this is just great to hear, because you've pretty much done all of this. You created a business idea, it was working, but not working the way you expected. You elicited the feedback from your customers, and you noticed a trend, and the trend was that people were actually ordering medicine, and they were ordering it regularly, and that would address your repeat user metric, right? Because your repeat user metric was at 10%, and now it's gone up to 30, 40%, just by offering another feature within your product. And the fact that you were looking at a telemedicine solution to begin with, and the pivot now is into medicine, that for me is the classic pivot. You notice something, you look at the data, and you experimented as well. You did an A/B test. You said if you want it in 1 hour versus 24 hours or 48 hours, and then you would go and talk to the customers as well. The bit that you didn't mention, which we heard in when we were talking last time, was when you yourself went to deliver some of these products and you yourself spoke to the customer, you asked the questions and you found out directly from the customer. For me, that's absolutely valuable, right? Because you actually understand the real problem and the real issues of your own clientele, and that makes your product substantially better. The other thing that I really like as well, because we hear the term AI all the time. As investors, everyone says, oh, we're AI driven, we're using this unique technology. The other interesting thing here is your background, is that you yourself dropped out of doing a PhD in AI, but you're already knowledgeable in AI. So when you talk about AI technology, the fact that you've got all this technical background in AI already, it adds credibility to your product story, right? So for me, there were a number of things in here which really made me interested in your capability. One, your technical background, your experience in terms of understanding the user problem, and then all the other data that you were gathering to pivot your product. You've run your minimum viable product. And for me, a minimum viable product, for the listeners here, doesn't mean that you have to go and code something and create something and say, here you go. If you look at Kareem's original product was just run off of a spreadsheet with people phoning up taxi drivers, and then they exited at a 10 billion valuation with Uber. So they built the technology as they went along, but they were understanding what the needs of the customer were through paper process. What your minimum viable product here was literally that advert, the Facebook advert to say, if you want to have this product delivered in an hour, click here. If you want it delivered in 48 hours, click here. If people are clicking on that, it tells you that there's market demand. You've reached your product market fit without actually having created any product. So this is like the smartest thing that I've seen, and it's textbook as well. If you read the book, The Lean Startup, it gives you examples of that. And here's my living, breathing example of somebody doing that. I'm absolutely amazed, and I love hearing the story. And I think for people watching, this is what we mean by minimum viable product. This is what we mean by creating metrics that matter. You understand that the metrics here that are really mattering is the repeat customer base. If a repeat customer base isn't there, how do you improve that repeat customer base? Why does it matter? It's because your customer acquisition cost is always going to be high. If you look at any large organization, what they say is always try and retain your customer, because acquiring a new customer is really costly, right? So if you lose a customer, that's a big catastrophe, and you have to go and spend a lot of money to acquire. So naturally, we would expect if your retention base is higher, then your customer acquisition cost is coming down, or at least theoretically, that's what you would expect.
I really love the story. I mean, I could listen to this story over and over and again. I think over dinner there was a lot more. In it that Arefin has edited out in this retelling. But I was curious to know, Arefin, there were a few things that you shared with us about that pivot away from being just a telemedicine or doctor consultation provider. And you did mention that you spoke to bigger players in your neighboring countries, and you discovered something about the telemedicine business as compared to the online pharmacy business. And I thought that bit was quite interesting as well. So I know you might not want to name names, but if you could just share a little bit about what you discovered while running the doctor consult versus online pharmacy model.
Yeah, so I always wanted to be sure that whatever, because a startup is a long journey, right? It's a 7 to 10 years journey from the beginning to have this long-term commitment. And I am, as the CEO, I'm pitching not just the investors to give their money to me. I'm pitching my early team members. I'm pitching my co-founders and everyone involved that you have to get into this exciting journey with me so that you will get a lot of value from it. But if I myself am not sure that this will actually create value for all of us, so how can we pitch? So that was, I was having a little bit sort of imposter syndrome at that time, because with 10% retention rate, how can I actually say to my early employees that come join me for maybe you will get some equity and this will be valuable. So come as for half a salary that you would get in an MNC. So I was having this dilemma that will it actually work? At that time, I tried to contact all the other telemedicine players in Bangladesh and that I could reach, and also some outside Bangladesh in South Asia or in even similar market in Asia, in Indonesia, in India, in Pakistan. And also after pivoting to online pharmacy, I started to contact with the online pharmacy founders as well. So after talking to the other doctor consultation platforms, and there were like 4 or 5 of them during COVID, and especially by 2021, there were like 4 or 5. So I talked to at least 2-3 of them, and they were like having the same problem with retention with the doctor consultation. So the main thing was people usually needs to have a doctor consultation every 3 or 4 months. So 3 times or 4 times a year. So this is an infrequent problem. So they all were struggling with this problem, how to get them after 3 months. They would even forget the brand's name. So they would again go to Google and search a doctor consultation app. So you are not having this written. They may go to another platform after 4 months. So that is also the same challenges were faced by all the other founders I talked to the CEOs of other telemedicine platforms as well. So all they were doing is acquiring new customers every month, and it's a new set of customers. Not many of them could crack this repeat customer tool. And when I talked to the other successful online pharmacy founders that are quite big, like multi-billion-dollar business now in India, so actually he gave us insight that what we are pivoting to was the right thing, because this so the thing that he told me that stuck with me and still here with me is you will see a lot of opportunities in healthcare. So, and if you get lured by all of these opportunities, you can do many things. You can do even you can only build a startup just picking up one niche market. Say, for example, dermatology, the skincare and hair care, or you can just choose mental health, or you can. So there are a lot of opportunities. You can choose just one disease and make a business out of it. But he said to me that what you are doing right now, focusing on just the chronic patients, not the skincare, not all the fancy and high margin businesses, not the laser and aesthetics and cosmetic surgery and everything. Don't focus on that. Just do what you do best right now, because just focus on serving how you can serve the best these people, the patient with diabetes, cardiac, and these kind of problems, because these patients, until they die, they will have to struggle with these diseases. And so my goal is to make their life a little bit easier with technology. So that's the goal. That's why we're laser focused on executing and making the customer experience better and better. So, and that's exactly what we and our team have been doing for the last 18 months. And we are seeing the result of that. So I told you that when I started that experiment in early 2021, in the quarter 1, retention rate was around 40%. But right now you can see that among the chronic patients, our month 1 retention rate is 84%. So that number has gone very high, and we are even trying to break that to like more than 90%. So that is one of the metrics that matters to us, and we believe that is the most important metric to figure out if we have a product market fit or not. And the stronger we find our product market fit, then we can spend actually to grow. And before that point, there is no point in spending money on acquiring customers, because it's a leaky bucket problem. Then we get a lot of thousands of customers, then they leak every month. So there's no point in building that kind of company.
I had just one more question around the founding story. So you did share with us that you done a lot of applications, and I think it was your late father's dream that you become that you get a PhD. So when was that moment when, and you also mentioned there's a friend of yours who has gone on to do the PhD and you are applying together. So what was that moment for you when you realized that, hey, instead of pursuing this PhD, I need to build MedEasy? Was there a moment, or like how did you come to that particular big decision?
Yeah, that's a more like bit of personal story, but yeah, anyway. So that was a difficult choice for me. Always, like from my childhood, actually, I was always a little bit, reverse stream, some kind of thing. So my family wanted, in the first place, to be a doctor. So they wanted me to be a doctor at the first place. And then I fell in love with programming when I was like 18 years old. And I was like, no, I'm going to study computer science. And then they were like, okay, then they were okay with like South Asian parents, and they were okay with, okay, you want to study engineering, go study engineering, but you have to go to the this particular university to study engineering in Dhaka. But in that university, I didn't get to study computer science. I got a chance to study other engineering subjects like materials engineering, like urban planning and architecture and those kind of stuff. So, but I was really into computer science, but I could not get the computer science department there. But I got into the second best university in Bangladesh, the computer science department. So they were like, no, don't go like 200 kilometers away from Dhaka. You stay here and study other engineering stuff. You don't want to become a doctor, become an engineer. Okay, that's okay. I was like, no, I have to become a computer engineer, not just any engineer. So okay. So then again, I went to that, and that was all these decisions I don't regret, because I enjoyed the study, I enjoyed the things, I enjoyed coding, like the 4 years of my undergrads. And then again, I was quite like one of the best programmers in my batch, and I was about to go into maybe software engineering and this kind of stuff. Then again in 2013, there was a revolution in artificial intelligence technologies called deep learning. So there was artificial neural network and these kind of new technologies coming on, and I got excited by that. And in 2016-17, I got so much fascinated about machine learning and AI that I started building projects on those things. And then I decided I'm not going to be just a software engineer. I'm going to become a machine learning engineer and go. Then it was okay. My father was okay with it. Okay, now go to USA and get a PhD on what you love. So it was perfect. But after that, when I was still unsure about all this, but when COVID hit in the first wave in May 2020, my whole family, including me, got COVID-19. And so we actually got well after within 14 days. But my father, as he already had all these diseases and problems, so after fighting with COVID for like almost 30 days, and I was with him, as I was also COVID positive, I was with him. I was allowed to stay with him in the hospital room, same room, until he was taken to the ICU. And unfortunately, he could not sustain that. So I lost my father to COVID. And after that, I took a break from my job at that time. And I thought about all these, and it was a hard decision. But then at that point, I was like, okay, so I can go to USA and maybe not pursue this. But so that's one thing for everyone actually. So in developed market, when we see a startup, in most cases, these are like, you can see video streaming startup or even game streaming like Twitch and entertainment, or like maybe some kind of TikToks or some kind of thing. Because fundamental problems, even in Singapore, the fundamental problems like healthcare and education are already taken care of to some extent by the government and by the already established like 100 years of companies. But in developing markets, emerging markets like Bangladesh or Indonesia, even India, there are a lot of problems that government can solve fully, at least in the next 50 years. So this is an opportunity for us just not to create financial value for us, but create a real impact, like helping the people like my father and me, all these other 30 million patients, that create a long-lasting impact on the society, on the Bangladeshi. So this cannot be like measured in any other thing. So at that time, after like pondering over this like for 20 days or 30 days, I was like, okay, then I quit my job and I decided to actually pursue this full time. And I was like on board with the 7 years journey. Yeah, I think that's it. Oh, and my friend that I was studying with, we were preparing for, we took the GRE, the test that was needed to do the PhD in America. And he eventually applied, and he is now out of college. After master's, he actually also dropped out. He didn't complete his PhD, but he did his master's in Canada actually. And he is now working in Boeing, the airplane company, as a data scientist. So yeah.
Well, thank you for sharing this story. I think there's so much in this founding story, like what Osman shared. Like there's so many of these classic textbook examples of what makes a great founder story, and that's why I think like as potential angel investors, I think these give us the belief and the faith that this particular founder and this founding team has what it takes to bring this idea to where it envisions to bring it. So yeah, I think it's very, very promising to hear what you have done. So now that we know what you have done and how you got to where you are today, I think one of the questions that we would like to know, and also the viewers would like to know, is what is holding back MedEasy at this point of time? Like what's holding it back from growing to the level or getting to the level that you hope to drive it towards?
So the first part of our journey was finding product market fit, and that is actually quantified by having this increasing this retention number from that 40% number to more than 80%. So we have achieved that. So now we are confident. We are confident that now if we pour money, this will create a growth engine for us, because now we have the data to show that we have a certain number of customer acquisition cost, and this is the lifetime value, and this is the CAC payback period. So our CAC payback period is less than 3 months. So we get everything fully compensated within 3 months. Then we can use that money to grow again. And also, we don't just want to become fully dependent on just paid marketing. We believe the ideal goal for me to achieve this 50-50. So 50% should be totally organic and word of mouth, referral through SEO without spending time, and maybe 50% growth will come from paid marketing in the next 2 years. So that is the goal to achieve. Right now, the organic growth and the word of mouth and everything is around 20%, but our goal is to achieve 50% of that. So I think now we know that we have this product market fit. We know we track all these metrics like GMV, the margin, everything is increasing every month. In the last month, we saw a 23% month-over-month growth compared to May, without spending very little in growth in sales and marketing. Very, very little, almost negligible. So we have this retention, we have this CAC to LTV ratio figured out, and we have reduced the delivery time significantly. That's why now is the right time. We are raising our seed round of $750,000 to fuel this growth and to take it to the next level. So right now we are working around $1 million in annualized GMV. Our goal is to raise this amount as soon as possible and achieve $18 million in annualized GMV by December 2020, which will take us to our Series A. So that's the goal. Now we are totally in the growth mode.
The comment that I really want, it's not really a question, it's more like an observation, because we hear of product, especially salespeople like myself, we always go and we talk to customers and we say, if we only had this particular product capability, we would sell more. And I think one comment that you made as well while we were talking was that you're focused on this particular product, on this particular segment, and you're not going to deviate from that, which I think is really important, because the key comment you made while we were having dinner was, otherwise we become an IT outsourcing company. We're just making software for people, and that's not what you're into, right? So remaining focused on the product, remaining focused on the capability that you have and growing that particular space is really important. And the fact it's focusing on chronic illnesses to begin with is an interesting take on that. The question I have specifically is something that you keep on bringing up. It's about authentic medicine and not fake medicine. Is that a particular problem in Bangladesh? Because you also mentioned that the unique thing around Bangladesh is that you manufacture most of the medicine in country. So, but normally if you're manufacturing medicine in country, the cost is very low. So the potential for fake substitutes is also very, in my mind, it should be very low because the products are being made here in country, therefore the cost should be low, therefore why would you waste your time trying to introduce fake medicine? But yet in your pitch deck you talk about authentic medicine being a key requirement here. Can you just talk us through that?
Yeah, maybe you're not familiar with this kind of thing, but in South Asia, not only in Bangladesh, India, Pakistan, this is a common phenomenon. So there are some people who often have previous experience working with these pharmaceutical companies to like low level or junior level position in the marketing or sales department or something like that. They figure out a way, what are some medicines that are in high demand? And these are mostly generic medicine like medication for asthma, medication for gastric ulcer, and also some other like medicine that are on high demand. And what they do is they have created this large industry of counterfeit medicine underground. And every week, if you're an active reader of Bangladeshi newspapers or the Bangladeshi media, you will see that almost every week, some of these people get caught by the police. And then they discovered that there are like thousands of boxes of fake medicine that are just so as they have done this job in pharmaceutical industry and especially in the marketing department, they know the packaging very well. So what they do is they create this fake medicine, but they try to imitate the packaging of the actual manufacturer because they have all these 4 or 5 years of experience working in this one. Sometimes they got even sacked for the same reason. But after getting sacked, they try to do all these things. And some of the retailers, for getting it for a cheaper price or getting some extra incentive, they, instead of ordering directly from the manufacturers, they buy from these B2B, like you can say a wholesale market. So when a retailer, instead of buying directly from the manufacturers, buy from the wholesale market, there is a chance that 10 to 20% medicine actually, for this category, not for all category, but for this category medicine, 10 to 20% probability is there that this medicine can be fake. And this can be life-threatening for some patients with asthma, some patients with severe different conditions like gastroenterological problems and this kind of stuff. So this medication can even lead to severe health hazard, even death in some cases. That's why government and the law enforcement agency is trying their best to capture all this market and destroy this. But still, there are some large players who are in the play in the underground, supplying this medicine to the retailers through this wholesale market. So that's why we are focusing so much on this, because all the patients of ours who are mostly educated and they care a lot about these things. They even question us about the authenticity of our medicine. And as all of our medicine are directly purchased from the manufacturers, we can actually show them the invoice and they have this unique number on the packet of the medicine that is actually verifiable that this is from the manufacturers, because all these fake packages, they use the fake number, and that number does not match with the actual invoice of the manufacturers. That cannot be matched. We are trying to now digitize those. We are also proposing to the manufacturers that they create a unique QR code that is actually digitally verifiable instead of this manual invoicing thing. So I think 3 or 4 pharmaceutical already have introduced this thing with their package, so that the patient can simply scan the QR code, and if they don't have this QR code or it's a fake QR code, the medicine is fake. So it is verifiable. And we are also talking to other 30 other manufacturers that we are pushing for this, that when you manufacture medicine, please introduce a QR code or let us make it for you, and maybe that. So we are in talk, and maybe hopefully in future every medicine will be verifiable. Okay. So the patients actually, when they buy from us, they get this peace of mind that they are not getting any fake medicine. These are actually authentic.
Okay, that's really, really important for us to know, because we're not familiar with the Bangladesh market. And I think both me and Razi, we mentioned this in one of our previous videos as well, that most of the time as angel investors, we have to have an open mind because we don't understand the problem statement sometimes, and we have to take a view as to, okay, well, here's a problem statement that we can't get our heads around, right? So, for example, in Singapore, the conversation that we had over the meal last time was, in the UK and in Singapore, the medical practice is very different. In Singapore, you go to your doctor, you get your medicine from the doctor, right? You just literally walk out of the doctor consultation and the receptionist is dispensing the medicine. Whereas in the UK and in Bangladesh, you go to see your doctor, the doctor gives you the prescription, and then you go to see a pharmacist and get the medicine. So just understanding that the audience expectation is very different as well was important, especially for our viewers to know. And in this particular case, we just don't even see the issue of fake medicines as being a problem, right? So yeah, thanks for sharing that.
What the doctors do, especially the specialists, they cannot spend enough time to the patients. They just write the prescription, but after that, they don't have the time to explain the prescription to the patient.